Mayor Greenberg honored the sacrifices of LMPD officers who've been shot in the line of duty. The Keepers of the Dream spotlighted Louisvillians maintaining Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream, and Louisville Fire Chief Brian O'Neill talked with the Louisville Forum. All of that and more on Louisville This Week. I'm John Ramsey, Director of City Partnerships. For his weekly press update, Mayor Craig Greenberg was joined by LMPD officers who were injured in the line of duty.
Today, we want to acknowledge 4 heroes in our community. 4 living heroes, and acknowledge them for the service and the sacrifice, because each one of them has been shot in the line of duty. Thankfully, all 4 of these great men survived.
My twin brother, Officer Nick Wilt, was critically injured during an active shooter, which has changed many lives forever. It has reminded us how dangerous and unpredictable life can be, and it focuses the courage on the bravery that everyone who puts a badge on and still goes out there.
The sacrifices made by these brave officers standing here today remind us of the weight of that duty and the courage it demands. At LMPD, we know we cannot fully eliminate the risk of the job. What we can do is ensure that our officers are supported in every single way possible.
During the Keepers of the Dream program, Mayor Greenberg presented the Mayor's Freedom Award to Joanne James and Reverend Dr. Daniel Corey Shull.
Tonight, it is a great honor to recognize 2 outstanding Louisvillians who are not just moving forward every day, but who are sprinting forward every day with their work to make Louisville a more educated city, a safer city, a more just city, a city where every child and every adult has a wonderful opportunity to succeed. The Keepers of the Dream Freedom Award is annually bestowed by the Mayor of Louisville on people who work every day to uphold the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and to make Dr. King's goals a reality nearly 50 years after his passing. Tonight, 2 more names are being added to that amazing list. A list of distinguished heroes who've blazed trails, broken barriers, spoken up, and stood up for principles and our people. You know, in this job as mayor, there are sometimes difficult decisions, sometimes very challenging days. But when Rachel and I began talking about who we thought had earned this award, it was a very easy conversation and decision, because there are 2 amazing leaders here tonight who are so worthy of this and are going to be receiving the 2025 Keepers of the Dream Freedom Award. Joanne James and the Reverend Dr. Corey Shull.
In these challenging times and in these days and hours to come, I remember Dr. King's profound wisdom. Hate is too great of a burden to bear. I have decided to love. This choice to love, to be faced with adversity, requires, Dr. King taught us, faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the staircase. This reward is just not about recognition of the past. It's also about the work that we must continue to do. My name is Joanne James, and I am because of you, and I approve this message.
So I received this award as an honor, and I'm thankful for it, but more than that, I receive it as a challenge. That until the achievement gap has been closed and been closed for good, there's still work to do. And until the opportunity gap, where every child has the opportunity to maximize their potential, there's still work to do. Until we can get on the same page about how to change policing in the city of Louisville for the better, there is still work to do. Until justice becomes the norm, there is still work to do. Thank you again, Mayor Greenberg. Thank you, Louisville. To God be the glory. Great things God has done.
The Keepers of the Dream program was also a wonderful showcase for some fantastic local talent.
Detox my calling this right on time. Transformation, I must have 1,000 lives and like 3,000 wives. You should know that I'm slightly off, fighting off demons that been outside. Better known as myself, I'm a demigod. Every thought is creative, sometimes I'm afraid of my open mind. My mind is heavy. Pieces cause it's way too heavy. My diamonds, the choker is heavy. More like the devil, the man like the baby. Keep them honest like us. Facing the till victory is won. Is won.
Volunteers of America held a groundbreaking for their Monarch Station affordable housing units.
Can you imagine waking up this morning, 4 degrees, minus 10 wind factors, living in a little piece of plastic in the woods? We can do better than that.
And sometimes the very best solutions to complex community problems come from a single idea and a force for good. And we're here today actually because this project was sparked by a single voice.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
The board approved me to buy a lot, and I thought, well, maybe we'll get, 12 or 18 off the streets or something. And then I went to Jennifer, and the next thing I know, she wants to do 80 units. She said, we're going to need a little more land, so we bought the 2 lots on Shelby Street. They're next to the Bland Street property and put it together, and it were all kinds of hurdles.
We are truly grateful for his partnership, for all you do for Volunteers of America and so many other organizations throughout our community.
You can feed a man a fish for a day, or you can teach him to fish for a lifetime. The Volunteers of America teaches people how to fish. And I really appreciate the compassion in our community to bring about things like the Community Care Center, the Monarch Station, the incredible support.
Smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are important because they save lives. We require that smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors be installed on every floor of the home. We ask that they be 10-year lithium tamper-proof or hardwired in. All homes with fuel-burning appliances or an attached garage would be required to have a carbon monoxide detector on each floor. This is excluding basements and attics, but they need to be installed on each floor. And there are smoke detector carbon monoxide dual detectors that can be installed. Those would have to meet the required smoke detector installation as well.
Louisville Fire Department Chief Brian O'Neill talked fire safety at this month's Louisville Forum.
So when you think about the fire department, what does the fire department do? Ultimately, if you want to winnow it down to one simple thing, we mitigate disaster. Somebody is having their worst day. It is a situation that they cannot deal with. So they call 911 and we come and try to make it better. If you think, most people, when they think, I need law enforcement, I need a cop right now, they're going to call, they need a cop. They're thinking, I need an ambulance because this is going on, I need an ambulance, they call and they're going to get an ambulance. They're also going to get a fire truck. But if you think of everything else that doesn't fall into that easy category of police or EMS, that's the fire department. And oftentimes our dispatchers down right over here at Metro Safe, about a block and a half away, they do an amazing, amazing job. But sometimes they're like, well, just send the fire department and they'll figure it out. Because that's what we do. You could take 2 of our firefighters, give them a box of tools, throw them in an old beat up pickup truck, send them, and they'll figure it out. They're really, I cannot brag enough about the men and women of the Louisville Fire Department. I have no doubt in my mind that they are the finest firefighters in the world, and I'll fight anybody that says otherwise. They do amazing work, really.
You can watch Louisville Forum each week on Metro TV at 7 a.m. and p.m.
My name is Chris Watkins. I'm a lieutenant with Louisville Metro Police Department. I have actually 3 different roles on the department. I'm in charge of strategic planning, recruiting and selection, and I'm also an assistant SWAT commander. LMPD has provided me a lot of opportunities and put a lot of people around me that have been really good for me as a person, and has afforded me a lot of opportunities to grow personally and professionally, and to learn about myself and to learn about others, be more empathetic to those situations. I was kind of at a crossroads in my life. I never thought I would do law enforcement. I actually got a degree in accounting and finance, so I thought I would be an accounting nerd. I was good at math, and I figured, well, my life's set, and that's what I'm gonna do. And life kind of took some different turns and twists. My mother was a hoarder, and that was something that I had carried with me for years. No one on the police force knew about it because I was that ashamed of it. I always knew that I was going to have to find her from the time I was 10 years old. And that was just a heavy, heavy burden I knew that I was going to carry. I'd been on the department for several years, and my mom went in to the hospital one night and came home, and I wasn't able to get a hold of her. In my gut, I knew something was wrong. And so when I went over there, I ultimately found my mom. She had passed away. And several officers came and comforted me. The following day, those officers came over to her house to help fix things up and take care of things. I would never have expected that. I thought this was something I was gonna have to do alone. And then ultimately, after talking to those officers, 2 of the 3 officers involved said, yeah, I've dealt with the same thing. Getting to that point allowed me to not hide this shame anymore, but to be able to share with others and allowing myself to be more vulnerable, because most times you're not allowed to be weak. You're not allowed to be vulnerable. You're not allowed to do those things. But at that point, that's what it took. A week after my mom passed away, I wasn't right. I was still dealing with a lot at that point. We made a run, and we were supposed to be a disorderly juvenile. And so we go to the house, and I'd grown up in a hoarder's house. I know what they smell like. This house, I could smell it from 4 houses down. The mom was saying this juvenile is being disorderly, and at that point I saw where he was living. And so there was a discussion had, and basically, could you get your kids out of this house if there was a fire? And she realized that no, and she was letting her family down. We came back and checked up the next week. The mother cleaned up her house. Those little changes meant the world to me. I know what it was like for me growing up. And so I was just trying to give that kid a chance. It was hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Family Scholar House broke ground on their new modular housing campus. Mayor Greenberg committed $7 million in local and federal funding for this affordable housing development, which will be made with modular housing units from a local manufacturer.
This is our 6th campus in Louisville.
Lift it up. 2, 3.
This moment isn't just about the construction of a building. It is about the construction of hope, of opportunity, of new beginnings. It's about laying the foundation for change, for families like mine who are on the path to rebuilding, growing, and thriving.
62 and 3-bedroom apartments. The 2-bedroom apartments are roughly 1,000 square feet for families. Open design. They're built out of cold form steel in a modular factory right here in our community.
In many ways, my journey at Family Scholar House mirrors the process we are witnessing today, the modular construction. Once fragmented and scattered, each piece of my life has been carefully supported, put back together, and transformed into something whole, strong, and full possibility.
It's so impactful what they do. It's not just housing.
Right.
But it's going to look pretty.
These are the nicest apartments I've ever built. When you have to build outside, you have to be responsive to the weather. For example, in this recent wintry weather that we've had, the modular factory was only closed one day, and that was because workers couldn't get to the factory. So you're able to not only build a really, really good product, no mold, really quality finishes, but you're also able to build it effectively, efficiently, and faster. Student parents need a place to raise their kids while they're getting the education they need for careers. And our community needs them to get the education that they need for careers. And their children are counting on them.
Today, we celebrate a unique moment. City, state, non-profits, and builders all united behind one shared vision. This isn't just an MMY factory, it's our factory. It's a powerful testament to what collaboration can achieve. Together, we are just not breaking ground. We're building hope for countless families in need.
Larry Elliott says becoming a school bus driver has been a great decision, and his young passengers agree. Elliott is being recognized for the kindness he's shown providing blankets to keep students warm and books to keep them engaged on their long ride to school.
You just sit up front there. I've been in schools as Abraham Lincoln for 20 years in JCPS, and for about 3 years I thought, I want to drive a bus. It really is a fun, rewarding experience. I cry sometimes with these kids, how much I love them.
He's just always loved kids, just have such a big heart. He pours his whole heart into everything he does.
And of course I thought, I'm gonna get him some blankets now, it's 10 degrees. And so that's how all that came about.
He came back one afternoon and he said to all the kids, everybody get your blankets out from this morning. And he had all these blankets on their seats on the bus, and they all started bundling up because it had been so cold. And I looked at another staff member who had said to me, did you hear that he had blankets on the bus? And I said, well, of course he does. That's just who he is.
And the bus is cold inside in the morning. It takes this bus sometimes 20 minutes to warm up. I thought, I'm gonna get some blankets for some of these kids to lay their head down, and got some pillows in there as well. It keeps them warm. In a nutshell, I love my kids.
He started realizing that the kids had such a long time on the bus, and he wanted them to still be learning. So he started buying them books, activity packets, just so they could be still engaged in learning on their bus ride to and from school. He went to our assistant principal very early in the year and said, I need a list of all the kids' birthdays on my bus, so that he could acknowledge their birthday when they got on the bus and give them a little extra something. Again, he's just always doing extra because he's so invested in these kids' lives and making sure that they have such a great start and end to their school day.
Birthdays are pretty special, and so I know their birth dates, and we sing happy birthday when it's their birthday, and sometimes I'll have a little cupcake for them.
My bus driver gave me a coloring book and then let me color on a bus. He gave me a penny and a case for my birthday. I would tell him, well, thank you for all the things you did for us.
It's just a good purpose to get up in the morning and love on these kids.
Metro TV was out on the street asking people if they prefer the warm or the cold weather better.
I love cold weather because my birthday is January the 10th, my son's January the 1st, my daughter December 22nd. We all Capricorn. I love it. I love snow.
Hi, my name is Jen, and I am from Minneapolis. And, you know, that's a really hard question. I think typically hot weather, but if it's a 90, then I'd prefer cold weather.
I like hot weather, and I like hot weather because it makes me a lot more. This is uncomfortable. You can't walk nowhere without tripping, and the cold got your fingers hurting. You got to wear a face mask. The hot weather. I'm black, so you know the melanin. You love the sun. That's the only reason why.
I prefer cold weather. I grew up in Ohio, so it's a little bit different than here. This has been a lot colder than normal, but you know it's tolerable now. You know, sub-zero, not for that, but around this temperature, yeah. This feels good.
My name is Ashley. I prefer hot weather because right now I am freezing. My ears hurt.
My name is Logan, and I definitely prefer warmer weather. This cold is miserable. When it snows, people don't know how to drive in it, and I like being outside. So it's a little prohibitive when it's this cold.
Elijah Mars was born in 1840 in Shelby County, Kentucky, which we know of as Shelbyville. Actually, he did a lot of his life's work still based in that area. His mom was still owned by Mr. Jesse Robinson, and so they were part of the farm, what have you there, and he was a very nice person to allow them to have some independence as long as they did what they needed to do in terms of work. The idea that he was encouraged to read his Bible once they learned that he could read. He learned an older black gentleman had a school, and that school met after 10 p.m. at nights, and Elijah would venture to be a part of that school and learn. He was able to take those skills and develop them, and later he turned to be a great educator. Elijah Mars attended Sunday schools in the Methodist Church, and he began to pick up on this idea of Christianity and knowing the Lord, listening to the testimonies of others. A friend pulled him to the side one day and told him about a relationship that he could have with Jesus. And so he was intrigued by that. He labored with it, but ultimately was baptized in 1851. As Reverend Charles Taylor, I believe, baptized him as a part of the Baptist Church in the Simpsonville area, the Colored Baptist Church in Simpsonville. There were persons who came when they learned about his ability to read, they asked him to read letters that came in the mail to them. They could not read it themselves. And then they found out he was good with the pen, so he would actually assist them in writing responses to letters and help to get those letters mailed. Elijah P. Mars traveled on foot. He led his troops, for the most part, on foot throughout Kentucky. There was an occasion where they would find a place to sleep. They would fill up whatever building, sometimes a schoolhouse or what have you, but he would dig a hole in the ground, much like a groundhog, and he would climb in that hole and put boards and dirt over him, and that's how he would sleep. He was a very unique, small-built man, very strong, feisty guy. He was always on alert and stayed ready, kept a pistol handy, and really was one of the persons that would often stay up at night to watch and to keep guard, and would lead other soldiers who would be willing to do that while others slept. The Civil War ended, and things were moving forward. He was moved into teaching, but then the Ku Klux Klan was very active then, and they were moving about, terrorizing sectors of the communities. And so Elijah P. Mars established what was called loyal leagues. I know in LaGrange, for example, they established that to pull people together, and he used some of his military acumen to train them and help them to know how to defend themselves should there be an attack of the KKK. He migrated to Newcastle and took up teaching there, and while there he moved his letter from the Colored Baptist Church in Simpsonville to the First Colored Baptist Church in Newcastle. And it was there that he taught and was active in the Sunday school. He prayed about it, he did his initial sermon, and that was in 1873, but he was ordained in 1875. His brother just summoned for him. He said, this was H.C. Mars. He said, I need you to come to Louisville. So when he ended his last session there, he came straight to Louisville, and H.C. told him that, listen, we're going to open up this school. It was a great synergy that day, and Reverend Mars said, you know what, I think it would be better if Reverend Simmons would be the president of this college. And so they talked it over, and they basically handed it over to him. Reverend Mars was very hopeful that that he would never be forgotten for that foundational year, and we have never forgotten him and all that he represents to the formation of our college. He also moved into the establishment of a church, and that church is very much in existence today, the Beargrass Baptist Church. In his preaching ministry, he also helped sometime before 1904 the establishment of what we know of as Pleasant View Baptist Church here in Louisville, which is still in existence today. And ironically, there is a church named Mars Memorial Baptist Church here in Louisville, and that church is named after Elijah P. Mars, and they are still in existence today. He was always giving of himself to a cause greater than himself. And the very people whom he educated, who he loved, who he took care of, made sure that they had his encouragement so they could become scholars, the very people he advocated for in the political realm, those same people ended up helping and supporting him. And that's what makes the world go around. We can't live unto ourselves. We have to always be a part of enhancing the lives of others, not being selfish, but being kind and contributing, not just being a consumer, but being a producer.
Your children can have a bedroom in the basement. It's important that it meets the requirements of a bedroom so that it has windows that open and operate and it can be a means of egress. There's also ceiling heights for a bedroom, so the ceiling height would have to be at least 7 feet at a minimum. As long as it meets these requirements, yes, they can have a bedroom in the basement. If you'd like to learn more about the bedroom requirements, you can go to our website at louisvilleky.gov and use the search tab and look up Chapter 156 of the Property Maintenance Code.
Louisville Metro Animal Services needs volunteers and people who are willing to foster dogs and cats. They also have a shelter full of dogs and cats just waiting to become your new best friend. Thank you for watching Louisville This Week. Please share Metro TV with your family and friends and ask them to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X, and download our app on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Have a wonderful week.